Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. This is going to be a different one. Today we're looking at a 3D printer. Stepping into the world of 3D printing may not seem like something that is sort of anywhere near the topic of vinyl records, but it really is. So stay tuned to find out what I'm talking about. You're not going to want to miss this. So you may be asking yourself, what in the world does a 3D printer have to do with records? Well, there is a slight connection point, and what it is the fact that I have and would like to do more of printing items that can be used in conjunction with playing records. Case in point would be our 45 adapters, and I want to do more stuff like that. Record stands, other accessories, things of that nature. So 3D printing is a good way to do a little bit of manufacturing right in your own home. Now, every once in a while on this channel, we sort of mix it up with something. I'm always fascinated by how many people want to go down the rabbit hole with us into a different topic. So here is a little reel of PLA. We got an accessory bag with different tools, USB, SD card adapters, a glue stick, which we'll get into a little bit later. Over here is our power supply and power switch, which is neat that it's built in like that. So, have you guys ever done any 3D printing? Would love to hear about it in the comments below. I think it's fun. I mean, it is interesting. It can be frustrating. For instance, yesterday on the other printer, I was working on a possible concept for a product that we could offer, and it didn't work, and it was a frustrating thing. And sometimes, you know, 3D printing takes a while, so sometimes you'll invest a significant amount of time, and then all to find out, you know, just like any printer, sometimes you'll have a bad print. So you want to minimize that, and it can be frustrating. It takes some patience. Definitely takes some patience. I remember when I very first heard about 3D printing years and years ago, it seemed like magic, like impossible. Like how does this work? You know, I can't even fathom, you know, making things on demand, 3D printing items and things. And it's been really interesting to see how, you know, people's creativity has really opened up the technology in terms of something that can really create useful items. All right, there's certain things you want to make sure that you do. They provide a QR code, their website, their YouTube channel. There's a lot of how-to videos. I'm not going to make this about how to do this. I'm just going to do it and review it because it's a review channel or a review video. So yeah, I'm just going to do what I need to do. There's various items in here. As you can see, there's protective tape. That little yellow plastic coupler protector has to come off. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and get it ready for action. Okay, got everything situated. I'm going to give you sort of a close-up look inside of this thing. If you have no experience with 3D printing and you're wondering what it's all about, essentially what it is it's like a very fancy hot glue gun. It takes a material, a plastic material. In most cases, it's called PLA, and it's like comes in a kind of like a weed whacker line, if you ever, or like almost like a thick fishing line. So it essentially takes the plastic filament, melts it, and through an additive manufacturing process builds something. So there are other materials besides PLA. PLA is plant-based, and the fumes of its melting aren't harmful to the degree that other things like ABS, which you can also 3D print with ABS, would be. So PLA is pretty popular. It's a fairly brittle plastic. So if you need to 3D print something that has a little bit more elasticity to it, there are other materials. But for the most part, PLA is the way to go. There's different thicknesses. There's different melt points. Obviously, there's lots of different colors and finishes, and they provide a small basic reel. The PLA hangs on the side of the device right here, and then it's fed up into this. One thing we do need to do is get this tube connected to the right position here. So essentially the tube is going to go there and just like that. Before I do that though, let's look at the accessories a little bit closer. So it's a fairly high maintenance activity. So there are tools needed. You have to play with settings, temperatures. It takes a lot of patience. So obviously it prints from a file. So there are a couple of methods to get the file into the system. So we've got some adapters. It does come with a micro SD card, which contains a test file, and that's what we're going to print. It comes with tools to help unclog the nozzle, to make adjustments. There's a replacement nozzle there, some Allen wrenches, and glue. Adhesion is an important part of this. So the black square at the bottom that you see is called a build plate, and that's essentially the surface that the 3D printer prints onto. And it is heated, and it has like a magnetic removable piece on there. So you can replace this. They have a tendency to wear out over time. They also provide a little bit of glue if you need additional adhesion. I've never needed that so far. Hopefully I won't. Okay, let's go ahead and flip the power switch on. It's going to initialize, going to turn a little light on inside, which is neat. Helps you see what's going on there. Now let's look at that screen. All right, the screen looks better to the naked eye than it does on camera. I'll just say that. So the first thing we need to do is to load the filament. Before I select that, we need to take the filament and feed it up into here. All right, in order to do that, we need to get this ready. So we're going to remove the filament from its packaging like this. We don't want this kink to end on there. So we're going to use this tool right here. I did not see this included. It may be hiding in the styrofoam somewhere. I don't think they provide this. This came with a different brand. Anyway, I'm going to clip it at an angle right here to give it a nice sharp tip. That will help sort of navigate it as we feed it through the line. Okay, so we're going to pinch this right here, which opens it up. And then we should be able to feed it all the way up through the tube, down to the nozzle, and you'll feel some resistance there. Now that it's physically fed through there, we can click on feed or load filament, and it's going to heat up the nozzle and basically extrude a little bit of that filament through the nozzle itself to make sure it's fully loaded. So it doesn't take long, and you can start to smell that melted plastic smell. And yeah, these things do make fumes, so use them in a well-ventilated area. It gets better after it's been run in for a while. It's like turning on a brand new space heater for the first time kind of a thing, where it gets better over time. But now you can see that filament is starting to be extruded through the tip of the nozzle. And that is good. It just beeped at me and told me that the filament has made it all the way through. And that will harden and allow us to grab it out of there pretty quick. You want to be very careful because you're dealing with very hot surfaces here too. It's something to consider. But it is feeding that through, and then we'll just clip it and we'll be ready to go pretty soon here. Yeah, definitely want to resist the temptation to put your hand in there. It's not going to end well because it is hot. It's like I said, it's like hot glue, but very, very hot glue. Something that's very important to know about 3D printing is it involves a bit of work on a computer or a smartphone. These guys offer an application that can be used on the computer or on your phone. It's not the most exciting thing to watch, so I'm not going to make you sit through it, but essentially you take a file. There's websites like thingiverse.com and others out there that have free 3D printed files. If you're really good, you can also make your own 3D files. But essentially, you start off with what's called an STL file, which is a stereolithography file, and then a software called a slicer, and Entina has their own. A slicer software takes that and allows you to change parameters like the thickness of the infill, the dimensions in terms of scaling if you wanted to scale it down or whatnot. And then from there, you create a G-code file. And a G-code file is the file that the printer itself prints from. So now we're going to put the SD card in, and we're going to print a test model. Okay, so we're going to put our micro SD card in like this. And we're going to hit next. This, by the way, rotates. It's lit up. It's cool. And then it's also a button. So it's saying step 3 is configure the Wi-Fi. So scan the QR code. We got to do that next. Pushing that button actually brings up a QR code on screen there. And let's see what happens. It doesn't like that. Luckily, I was able to click past that. I need to figure that out off camera. Okay, so the main screen here may look really confusing at first. Don't let it throw you off. Essentially, you've got information about the temperature of the nozzle, the SD card, different parameters like the X, Y, and Z axis, connectivity if you're connected. I'm not right now. I'm just going to attempt to print directly from the unit, right from the SD card. So I'm going to click on that. There's different settings too that you can do to prepare things, to adjust temperature, connectivity, but the one we want right now is print from SD card or TF card. It comes with a number of test files. So we got a rabbit, some kind of dinosaur, a frog, a fishbone, an elephant, a dragon. Let's go for the elephant. You can also see right here that the time that it's going to take to print. The elephant's 3 hours and 13 minutes. Fishbone's only an hour and a half. Maybe we should pick one that's not quite as long. So let's see, the rabbit. Maybe we'll do a rabbit. It's only an hour and 14 minutes. So I'm going to click on this, and then we are going to click on print. You can make adjustments if you need to. Wow, it's musical. We are going to do a time-lapse video of the printing process. So enjoy. Okay, now we just snap it off like that. Usually the raft, which is this base part here, will come off. The whole thing will come off, but I did let the whole thing cool before I demonstrated this. So that's it. That's the 3D print. And you know, you're looking for things like obviously the detail, how smooth it is. If you look carefully, you can definitely see the lines because it's, you know, like you saw, wafer upon wafer of construction. And for a home printer, that's, you know, you're probably not going to be able to eradicate that completely. The bottom has the texture that's left behind between it and the raft. And one of the reasons that this bottom magnetic panel comes off is so that you can sort of flex it a little bit to get leverage to pull the print off. Also, it's highly recommended to have like a flat blade scraper tool to get these off. So that's on there pretty good. But again, I let the whole thing cool, but we can definitely get that off of there. And yeah, that's essentially the process for 3D printing. It's good for making widgets. Obviously, they come out with one color. They do make some PLA that is like sort of a transitionary color. We've done some of those prints as well on the other machine. And I might try that on here. One of the limitations to this particular one is it says that the use of third-party filaments is prohibited. Well, I've got a room full of all kinds of filament brands that I would like to use. And if it causes an issue on here, they wouldn't be held liable for it. So that's a bit frustrating. Also, the full-size PLA reels don't fit on this little one. So it's kind of tailored more for these miniature reels, which of course are easily obtainable. For what it is, this really did the trick. It was quiet, something that not all printers are. It was relatively fast considering the size of the print. And, you know, there was not a lot of residual smell. Like when we first started, there was some of that melted plastic smell, which is, you know, to be expected. But overall, I'm impressed. I think the process as well. I like the smaller form factor. And I think I'll definitely be putting this into use. For me personally, the next thing is going to be running some tests with our adapters to see if it meets our specifications on that, which I really think it will. So yeah, an interesting device. And if you're wondering what would you print, just go on thingiverse.com, type in just about anything you can think of, and you might be surprised. All right, my friends, and that is going to do it. So yeah, my overall thoughts are that this is a good unit. I like the compact form factor. It seems well built. It seems like they offer really good support too. There was a lot of good support options, training materials on their YouTube page, their website, the app support. So there was a lot of support, and I like that. I thought that was really, really good. I do wish it had like a mount for the larger PLA reels, and that it had a stated compatibility with more PLA than just their PLA. I also wish that it was a little bit more compatible with other file formats that came out of other slicer programs. But I'm just getting started with this unit, so I've got a lot to learn, and I'm sure that I will probably answer some of my own questions as I go. It usually works out that way. Anyway, my friends, link down below. Thanks for watching. Happy record hunting. We'll see you next time.